the Timepiece gentleman. He would claim $1 million robberies.
Finance his watch flipping business by stroking off guys in Dallas.
You want to hear what his partner had to say about him?
The Timepiece gentleman was just sentenced for stealing over $5.6 million, and we've brought in Greg, who has dealt with him in the past and is kind of a watch aficionado. He's got a bunch of watches, and he's brought some. He's going to explain how the whole thing went down, and we're going to get into it. So check it out.
The gentleman's name, Timepiece gentleman, was Anthony Ferrer, and he ran a large scheme where he was selling watches on consignment. However, he wasn't paying people as they were selling, and it kind of collapsed upon itself. The way the industry works is that you can't just walk into stores and buy desirable watches. You know, if you want a Rolex and the MSRP on that Rolex is $8,500, and you show up to the store with $8,500, then they're not going to sell it to you because they want to sell you more. They know that you can leave that store and that what's called the gray market is going to be like $12,000 or $13,000 or $14,000. There's some watches with an MSRP of $15,000 that sell for over $50,000. So, you know, they reserve the calling the clients on those watches for the most important, the doctors, the guys who will buy their wives huge diamond rings to offset the fact that they know they're going to make a huge windfall when they buy that watch, whether they choose to sell it or not.
Well, I don't understand because I bought Rolexes before, and I've walked in and paid $6,500 for.
That's
Rolex.
right.
But are these just but these aren't specialty Rolexes? This is just one that they're making thousands of, and
it became a thing. I'm guessing it was pre-2010 that you were.
Yeah, this was back in 2000.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Back then, you could have just walked right in the store and bought everything. Now, if you walk into a store, they will basically tell you everything is for display purposes only. Would you like to be put on a waiting list, sir? And
in case prices drop down low enough.
Yeah, and if things get bad and they start making phone calls, whether it's the economy or whatever, then they're probably in trouble. But that gray market is where people like the Timepiece gentleman like to exist. Okay. There's people who will get watches. They might get that lucky phone call where they might be able to work a deal with their AD where they kick them. AD stands for authorized dealer. So that basically means the Rolex store, where if they kick them, the store guy, a couple of grand, he'll bump them up the list. And I don't want to get sued for saying that's how Rolex does business, but there, I'm sure, are nefarious trades that have taken place to get people moved up and down the list. That's what allows unscrupulous people to get into watch trading. And I've been doing it for probably 15, 20 years.
Hence the unscrupulous.
No, I'm a scrupulous. Is that a word? I just have always been fascinated by watches. And if you watch my other podcast here, then you would see that I started buying watches when I started making money. If you haven't watched it, shame on you.
We should put it at the end of this.
Okay.
So at the very end, when it's recommended, you can click on it.
But what I would do, and this was probably circa 2008, 2010, is I would post on Craigslist. There was no Facebook Marketplace or any of that. Don't pawn your stuff. Don't pawn your watch. Don't sell it. I'll come to you. I'll bring cash same day. Whatever. Just because I was interested in watches and I didn't want to overpay. And then I just started kind of getting into it. And then I realized that, when I got too many, I could resell some of them. So I'd put them up on Craigslist. And it's like, well, that one I just gave that guy $700 for sold for almost $2,000. I mean, it's 2008, 2010, $1,000 is somebody's whole week paycheck. Right. So, and I just did it wearing a watch for 2 or 3 weeks. So I would just start flipping them, but I never really made a full-time business out of it. So I'm not a real watch dealer. I'm just kind of like a watch enthusiast who likes to buy and sell watches.
But what this guy did was he created an entire business model on it, which was for him to, people were giving him watches on consignment.
It started out pretty modestly.
Did he go to prison? Like, was he already, he had already gone to prison,
He'd
right?
been to prison multiple times.
Oh,
he had, well, he was a real estate agent, broker, whatever. And he started making good money, according to him, and got really into the party scene, and ended up trying to, if I recall, ended up trying to run from the police on a motorcycle. Did some time in jail, got out. I think he's got a total of 3 DUIs. I know he's got at least 2. So he just kept going back to jail. And his story, the way he tells it, is when he got out of jail and he was living in a halfway house and they were making him go out, he had a couple of things left over from when he was successful in real estate. And one of those was a Breitling watch, today probably worth $4 or $5K. And he sold it. So he had the money, and then he went on Craigslist and he bought like a tag or a different watch, and then he flipped that, and then he realized that, you know, when you're in a halfway house, you're not out here getting these great jobs.
Right.
So if he's making, you know, $600-700 a day, flipping a watch here and there twice a week, you're probably the highest paid guy in the halfway house, right?
Right.
So, I mean, so he decided to brand himself the Timepiece Gentleman. And the idea behind that, he told me, was the SEO of the fact that people will search for gentlemen's timepieces, and you know, it'll kind of organically pull him up. But then he got really, really into like the YouTube, and he decided, at the time he was driving a Jeep, not a Wrangler, a Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, that he wrapped in Timepiece Gentleman and whatever. And, you know, he was relatively modest. He seemed like a cool enough guy. But he wanted to create, which is not the worst idea in the world, YouTube content, and say, hey, I know it's super glamorous to be a watch dealer, but I'm going to show you the good, the bad, the ugly. You can be part of our team and follow us along all day long. So he created this weekly series that, I won't lie, as a watch guy myself, I was kind of excited when it came out every week.
Right.
Because, and it
gives him credibility.
Yeah, you know, but his idea to keep the crowd engaged was, okay, nobody wants to see me in a Jeep. He turned around, he got an Audi R8, and you know what that is? Mm-hmm. The Iron Man one? Mm-hmm. Like you had a TT, right?
I had an Audi TT.
Yeah, it's the men's version. And
oh my God. All right.
Sorry, I have to. So, you know who Daniel Mack is? You will know.
It sounds familiar.
He's that kid who goes up to everybody in like an exotic car and is like, man, what do you do for a living?
Oh, yeah.
That kid just happened to catch him in some high-priced Dallas area in his Audi R8, and he's like, I'm the Timepiece Gentleman. And his, like, now, like, you know, we used to DM back and forth and talk sometimes, and now he's got, you know, a couple 100,000 followers or,
right,
you know, whatever.
Now he's like, Greg who?
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. If you're not spending 40, 50 grand on a watch, like, talk to one of my sales guys. You know what I mean? So my wife, she has a degree in accounting, and the problem with selling watches is that everybody knows the value. I mean, within an extent.
Yeah.
So, like, he would like to say, and at the end of every episode, he'd say, we sold this many watches. We sold, you know, $250,000. So we had a great week. But what didn't add up is that you'd see the negotiations, and it's like, well, what do you want to get out of it? And the guy would say, well, I want to get 60K. And he'd say, well, I mean, if you want to get 60K out of it, then, you know, I got to get 55 out of it or something like that. And whatever. So you're not talking about, you know,
a huge profit margin, unless you're really massively moving a ton of these things.
Exactly. And so, I mean, say you make your 200K a week or whatever. Well, based off of a deal like that, that's, you know, 10, 15, 20K in profit. But now everybody's starting to drive exotic cars. And my wife from like episode 3 was like, no, this guy's a fraud. And I was just, I was kind of like, you ever seen that show Entourage? Like they just like race their cars. And it was like, I was just into the thing. I was just like, oh, now he's got a Lamborghini and now they're having all this fun. They're flying private. And she's like, the math is not mathing.
Right.
Like, and she's like, he's going to go to jail, like from the beginning. And she's
leave it to an accountant to be like,
I mean, but he put it out there for anybody to reverse engineer, like how. And at the time, he also had a partner named Marco Nicolini, who I've talked to him as well. I really don't believe that he had anything to do with, and apparently neither does the justice system, because they'd parted ways shortly after. And then he had another crew that the watch community is not happy with. It was his cameraman and girlfriend who took over the business for a little bit or tried to start their own business. And his name was Darby. And I don't remember what her name was. But, I mean, every episode got more and more extravagant. I mean, this is her cameraman.
Right.
And you are surprising him with a brand new Corvette. Yeah. I mean, you've got a Lamborghini. Your partner's got a McLaren. I mean, and
there's no fucking way you're making this off of selling fucking watches.
I mean,
at a profit of $3,000-4,000.
And you get the most expensive penthouse in Dallas, and I mean, his whole thing. He eventually started fabricating robberies to try to cover the losses. So
what happens? So I give you my watch. And I say, hey, I want to get 60 grand for it or something. And then you've got to try and sell it for 70 so you can make 10. And you're holding it on consignment. And then at some point I say, listen, man, I just want my watch back. It's been 4 months. I don't think you're really trying to sell it. I probably do sell it on my own. And then suddenly you say, okay, I'll send it to you tomorrow. And then the next day you send me a text, go, oh my gosh, I was robbed last night.
It wasn't that. It was actually more dramatic than that. He'd say, I was careless and I had 8 watches worth X amount of dollars in the back seat of my Audi, and somebody broke the back window and took them all. So he would claim like $1 million robberies,
right,
just to get some free cash to pay those people, and maybe say your watch was. I mean, who leaves that kind of stuff in the car? You know what I mean? Especially if you got your Timepiece gentleman stickers all over it. I mean, that's anyway.
Yeah.
So,
well, where are you going?
That was and then there was another really, really big red flag, and it was a strange thing. They were putting out this show every week, and they're like, something huge is coming this week. Yeah, everybody stay tuned. There's going to be something huge coming this week. You just wait for it. And then they just disabled their social media. They turned off their website. They called it their media blackout, which was really, really weird because, again, you've got millions in other people's stuff.
Yeah.
And they thought that it was really cute that they came back and with a video of them all volunteering at soup kitchens and animal hospitals and giving away watches after they disappeared. But it's like, if I'm the guy who you have my $120,000 watch, you know, and I can't reach you and whatever, I don't care that you're at the Humane Society.
Yeah, it's not cute. Send me my shit back.
Yeah, exactly. So people started freaking out then, and that's when it really kind of spiraled. He just tried to be such a disruptor in the industry that they were just throwing whatever at the wall and would see what sticks. And
well, isn't that pretty much when the Ponzi scheme starts to unravel? When
Well-
everybody says, "Hey, I want my stuff back,"
yes,
and you
So-
can't provide it.
Yes. And he did. He gets another DUI and a G-Wagon. So I think this was number 3. His whole thing is that I'm out of prison, I'm reformed, I'm sober. And as somebody that's sober, like I was like, I saw you got a DUI. Is everything cool? Are you still sober? And he sends me back, oh yeah, no, I'm good. And it's like, I don't know what to make of that, but I've never gotten a DUI sober.
No, I was gonna say.
But yeah. So he's by this point, everything is not good. And one night while drinking, he decides to plead his case to the internet. And I mean, it very quickly gets deleted, but tons of people have screen recordings of just this 10-minute video about how he's cracked under the pressure of all this stuff, and he's been drinking and you talking to escorts and this and that. And
Does he mention the watches?
Oh
Like,
yeah. He says he at this point, I think he says he owes $2 million.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, and he can get it back. But if everybody would just get off his back, he could have a little time because he's gonna get sober.
It's your fault. You're pressuring me.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody would stop, and he did get cornered on a podcast with a couple of real heavy hitters in the industry, and he just dug his heels in and said, "Listen, I spent a lot of money on advertising. Nobody wants to buy a watch from a guy in a Jeep. I had to get that Lamborghini as a company expense. Like, sometimes you got to fake it till you make it." And it's like, yeah, but do you? And so
Colby's got a question.
So did he delete a bunch of videos like
with
this weekly show? Because I'm looking at his YouTube channel. There's like 8 videos. There's 3 from 3 years ago, and then there's like the last 8. I think probably the video that you're referencing. He said it's titled "I finally hit rock bottom, 5 million in debt."
That's okay. So we did say 5 million that time. Okay, yeah. Yes, that's it. He's in like a green wife beater or something. Yeah.
And then it looks like
and they're probably posted by other people because he wiped his account.
Okay,
so whatever's
so that was
up
a
there.
weekly show. Yeah, because on his channel now there's only like 10 videos.
Oh yeah, no, he had probably definitely hundreds.
And then
it'd be like if your channel just went down to like 3 videos, and then Matt's like, I didn't take anything down.
And then after, what was the feedback from that video where he's like, "Hey, I'm in debt. Like, I'm gonna try to make it right."
Oh, people were losing their minds, and he had but that was pulled down the next morning.
Well, it's up. It's up right now, I think.
I guess at this point, now
Yeah,
that he's in
he might as
jail,
well
put it back.
Well,
Right?
it looks like from the YouTube channel, and you may or may not know some of this is he tried to do like a Road to Redemption series where he's
yes, that's right. He did.
where it's like day 1 and it's only 5 days where it starts off at 5,000.
Because he was getting heckled so bad that he just couldn't do it. It was like, so day 1. So how I'm going to make this money back. And it's just him calling people. Hey, you know me, you trust me. Like, let me sell that watch for you. Like, whatever. Like, I wouldn't do you wrong. And then I'm going to use the profit from that. And we're going to hustle back from the beginning.
You're going to hustle up $5 million.
Yeah. By getting people to send you watches.
That you've already admitted that
who know that you don't pay people.
That's delusional.
Yeah, he was gone at that point.
And you're clearly a drunk. So I'm going to send a drunk thief. I'm going to send him additional.
Like how Mr. Beast, like it was just so apparent the way he gave everything away. Like every episode was like, oh, first we're going to work out with a day in the life. We're going to drive my Lamborghini to my personal trainer. And I've been hanging, and he was jacked. He was like a little Mark Wahlberg wannabe. And he'd do his workout, and then he'd be like, yo, this is for you. Throw him a watch. After Daniel Mack, he met him back up and said, hey, I just had a serious deal. That's $10,000, $10,000, $15,000 that you're just giving away to people. So, I mean, it was, it was just I think he thought that if he got famous enough, the fame would outweigh the fraud. Like if he became a celebrity and then got some billionaire to stake him at a because he left Texas and he went to Beverly Hills to open up in the most expensive building or whatever in Beverly Hills, and moved into some crazy penthouse where, you know, celebrities have lived and whatever. And by that point, it was over.
Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster.
The sad part is that he made good content and he could have made a nice living for himself and still been selling watches, maintained his reputation. Marco, his partner, is still out there selling watches, and he has a good reputation. I mean, I've talked to him, and people still trust Marco. Darby, the videographer who got the Corvette, people in the industry, and I can't comment either way, say he knows more, say that and I don't know how clawbacks and things like that work, but I mean, you got a Corvette from somebody that stole money.
Right.
I mean,
it just depends on how far the government wants to go into it. You know, sometimes the government will, if it's readily available, they can pull it back. But if the guy's going to argue, you know, so a lot of Ponzi schemes, people don't realize is, let's say I'm one of the original investors and I put in 100,000 and I end up over the next 3 years getting out 300,000.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, oh man, you're lucky. You were pulling your money out. You got 300,000. No, once the Ponzi scheme collapses, the government will come in and say, you put in 100,000, you got back 300,000. And you're like, right. They're like, we want the 300,000. And you go, no.
And we'll split it up with everybody else.
Else. And you go, no. At the very least, I'm keeping my 100,000.
Yeah.
And they'll go, no. That money went into the pool with everybody else's. It gets divvied up just like everybody else's. Give us the money back. Now, most people are so scared of the government that they go, okay, and they give them the money. But what happens is if you sit there and say, no, I haven't done anything wrong. I was unaware it was a Ponzi scheme. I'm not going to be a victim of the Ponzi scheme. I'm going to give you back maybe 200,000. And a lot of people, if they get a lawyer and they start fighting it, the government will come in and be like, okay, we'll just take the 200.
Really?
Yeah, you can argue with them and say, I'm keeping this. And look, there are people that keep even more than the 300,000. I mean, more than the original 100,000, because they're like, no, I spent the money. I got this. I've done this. I'm not selling off all my stuff. I'm not. And so you end up negotiating, 180,000. I'll give you back 120,000. I'm keeping 180. And you negotiate that and you argue. But most people they start selling. Oh, I'll sell my house. I'll do this. I'll do that. It's like, absolutely not. I'm not going to do all that. And there's really nothing for you to do unless you want to try and sue me civilly, because I'm not a part of the criminal investigation.
Right.
Or the criminal case. So
right.
You want to sue me civilly? You want to go in front of a jury and say that I'm a 72-year-old person and that the government's trying to
take my house and
steal
everything?
300,000 from me? You're trying to make me a victim. I'm lucky I'm not a victim. Yeah. Now you're making me a victim. So what ends up happening is they just negotiate. And that's what typically happens. But people don't realize, they just think, oh, well, yeah, you're one of the lucky ones. Usually you're not one of them. Usually people hand over all their money and then they get back $14,000. And they're like, oh, poor me. And, well, you don't have to do that. But yeah, there is a clawback where you would think the government, if they wanted to, they could go to the guy Marco and say, look, this guy sold you that vehicle for $10,000. That's a $150,000 Corvette. He sold it to you for 10 grand because he was desperate. Well, it was a part of this, and we want the money back. And of course, they'll always threaten you, or we're going to indict you for this and that. If he's smart, he says, look, I didn't know there was anything. The guy came to me, I gave him 10 grand. I don't give a shit. I'm keeping the fucking thing. Sue me civilly. Yeah. Most people wouldn't do that because they don't know any better. Like, to me, I'd do that. Yeah. I'd be like, go fuck yourself, because I understand how it works, and I understand I'm going to argue about this. I'm not in trouble. I haven't done anything. Right. And then they'd be like, well, what could you give us? And then suddenly, but they'll threaten you first. So, so that's why he probably got the car.
The thing about the victims here is there's not a lot of sympathy for people with $120,000 watches.
I know.
You know
right?
what?
That's so sad. You know,
I'm just saying, like, but no. So I mean, seriously, like some of these people, and I never think of a watch as an investment when I buy it. Like I just think I like it. I like it for this price. I got some I've made money on. I've got some I'm upside down in. But you know, it just is what it is, and it's not a retirement fund. Just like a car, there's people who like cars. There's people I like watches and cars. That's pretty much it. And other than that, I'm a pretty simple guy. But,
so what did you ever do a deal with? Did you do one with the partner?
Prior to him calling himself the Timepiece Gentleman, Anthony Ferrer is the gentleman's name, had done a deal with me. Yes, and that actually went well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What happened after that? Once he
he changed his name to Timepiece Gentleman. Then he got on the Daniel Mack thing, and then he didn't even know who I was anymore.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was small time, 3 or 4K. You know, and yeah, the rest is history. But he got his now. I guess there's no way to do this without bringing up other allegations about him. At some point, and I don't know who confirmed this or whatever, in the Reddit, when he got out of jail one of the times and he was working at a nightclub or something, he was also giving massages and I don't know. We can look that.
Let's look that up.
He addressed it at some point.
Did he?
Like he was like
we talking
he
about?
he was all shredded and jacked, and he's like, "I'll come to your house and massage you or something." And he addressed it at some point. I remember he was like, you know, the most embarrassing thing in my life that I didn't want to get out has just been out, and we've all got a past. You know, whatever. So I don't know. I didn't get a massage from him. That's not the deals we did.
This is on Reddit.
Yeah,
so take that with a grain of salt. But this is the title. Best watch drama is Anthony Ferrer getting exposed as a homosexual masseuse who financed his watch flipping business by stroking off guys in Dallas.
He addressed it. He said that he didn't want it getting out.
And this is probably in one of those deleted videos.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any.
Yeah, again, I don't have a lot of information on that part of the business, but yeah, he.
So that was before his, you know, quote unquote downfall, right? This is before he got in trouble.
Well, that was way before. Yeah. Like by the time he had money, I don't think even giving rub downs is enough to make $5 million.
Jerking anybody off after that. It's like, well, thank God, because that's the first thing most people quit their jerk off job. Well, what's your favorite at Thanksgiving when they said, "What are you most thankful for?" He said, "Well, I don't have to jerk anybody off anymore."
Stole enough watches. There's no more hands.
Well, this Reddit page is called "Watches Circle Jerk." Is what it was posted on. So
I don't know, but yeah, that's crazy.
Did you read the comments for the Tom Simon's video we did with the woman who the guy went up to her and was masturbating next to her, and some woman was like, you know, because we were laughing about it, and you know, she was giving us hell in the comments talking about how your lack of concern for that woman, and it was just, oh, for God's sakes, it was just
I don't even know what happened.
We're just having fun, you know. This guy didn't touch her. He went and sat next to this chick on a plane and started, you know, taking pictures of her and yanking it. And she got up. She obviously was. She got up and went and told the stewardess, "Hey, there's an issue here. This guy, you know." But people were upset because we weren't upset for her.
I'm upset for her.
How much time do you think someone like that gets on the airplane for doing something like that?
Like if you see an attractive woman, you go up to her, you tell her she's pretty.
Did she see?
You offer her.
Did she see anything?
Yeah, he's.
No, I mean, but is it like under a blanket or is it just out? Because I think that makes a difference.
He did cover
I think he's under a blanket.
At one point, he does cover himself up because somebody clearly sees it, and then he sees them watching him, and he covers it up.
Does he have priors?
No.
I'm just asking. I'm trying to make a guess.
This is federal, by the way, too, because it's in the air.
Oh, yeah.
FBI,
Oh, yeah.
FBI is in control of the.
I would say he probably does 3 years.
What do you get? Five days?
Yeah,
Or
it was
did
like
he get-
I think 90 days was the maximum that someone
Yeah.
could get
Oh,
for something like
jeez.
that.
He got like almost nothing. Like
Maybe it was a long flight.
it's like a $5,000 fine and
a long-
No, it was a short flight.
Oh, it was a
it was
short flight?
it was like Chicago to
I was gonna
PA
say
or
if he was
something.
going to China, I mean,
It was-
then it's acceptable.
It's probably a bunch of
reasonable.
people.
It's a
Like,
downward.
I don't know.
bunch of
Yeah,
people.
yeah. One of the comments were like, "It was so like the fight was so short he couldn't or something."
Good
Oh,
finish.
well, that makes
Yeah.
it so much worse.
Yeah. So, yeah, but none of these guys, got any real time. There's a bunch of them that were doing stuff like this. None of them really got any time.
Well,
They didn't get the kind of time that old Anthony here gets.
yes, yeah.
He
So
gets-
he's so how much of that will he have to serve?
Well,
we
people
we're not
don't
there
even
yet.
know what he's been
Yeah,
sentenced
we're
to.
not there yet. So here's the thing. So $5.6 million. And so first of all, how long was he doing this to piss through $5.6 million? How long was he doing it?
Probably I think that he did it for about 5 years total, and when Marco split off, was when he started to see the red flags, and I think he treaded water for another 2 to 3 years, and that brings us to today.
Yeah, it was
Like-
at least documented on YouTube for at least 3 years.
Yeah,
Wow. So $5.6 million over the course of 5 years max.
yeah, and there was a lot of a long time between like tons of angry investors and him just going on live streams every day. I don't know if he was intoxicated or what, but he was like, and the people are like, "You're gonna go to jail." He's like, "I'm not going to jail because I'm fixing it. I'm on the road to redemption." It's
That's not
like,
how it works.
dude.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, the so his last video, he he talks about how he's gonna make the money back or try to, and he's gonna work on a different industry. And I just went and
I
read
have to
Work-
jerk off every
Then
single
different
guy in this
industries.
state.
Yeah. The most recent comment was like, "It looks like your newest industry is prison or something like that." Was the
Well.
most recent comment.
He's got the skill set.
Oh my gosh. I mean, if he's still jerking people off, he'll be very popular. So
So what he get sentenced to?
he got sentenced to 70 months, which is just shy of 6 years.
Which honestly surprises me because that's a substantial amount of money. And he has been to prison. I mean, I know he's done over a year before at least once. So
every the federal system, every felony you have is a different criminal history, right? As long as it's a different event.
I gotcha.
Like, let's say I get arrested for breaking into a store. And so I get, burglary, and then you get, 2 or 3 charges. And let's say all 3 of them are felonies. But that's one event. Like you say, oh, that's 3 felonies at 3 different criminal history levels.
Right.
It's not. It's one event. So for every new event that you have, as long as there's a certain period of time separating them, like if it's a spree, like a crime spree where you went on a crime spree and you robbed or you stole 5 cars over the course of 3 days, they'll consider that spree, right? Like, but whatever, there's a significant amount of time between these sentences, which I'm assuming 1 DUI and then 6 months later another DUI and then 3 months later, they're going to say each one of those is a different, unless it were consolidated. So every criminal history, every felony he has for a new DUI is going to be a different criminal history level. So if you're saying he's been arrested, he's probably got 3 felonies.
Yeah.
He's probably in criminal history 3 or 4.
You could have used a judge like his.
Yeah,
I mean,
well-
you had not much criminal history. You took what? 2-3 times what he took and got way longer than 2 or 3 times what he got.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt. I didn't think I got that fair a shake. But so he ends up with 5.6 million. He's probably in criminal history 3 or 4. That's a problem. Like every criminal history that you go up bumps your time up. Because I knew a guy that had no felony conviction that got, I think he stole like $3.5 million, and he ended up getting like, I think it was just shy of 3 years. Yeah, and he complained the entire fucking time about, it's like, you stole $3.5 million, you have to do 3 years. Like, that's not, to me, that's not a bad gig. to me, that sentence that he got is fair.
$1 million a year?
$1 million, well, yeah, $1 million a year. Yeah, that seems fair to me. So I mean, think about it. Most people, and keep in mind, they say, "Oh, he's got to pay that back." What does it matter? He goes on probation for 2 years, and maybe he's got to pay $200 or $300 a month for 2 years, and then when he's off, he can just say, "Go fuck off." And now he still owes the money. He's got a judgment, but there's no way for them to really collect it unless he ever buys a house and then sells the house, and then it's got to be something that's titled for them to collect on.
Mm-hmm.
So he may never pay that back, and he may get out of prison and live a decent life. Most people out there, if you're making $60,000 or $70,000 a year, and you went to somebody and said, "Look, would you go to prison for 3 years for $3 million?" Now you're going to owe the $3 million, but you don't actually have to make the payments. Now, if you ever buy a house and go to sell it later, and you're supposed to make some money on it, then you have to pay whatever profit over to the $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
They would say, "Absolutely, I'll go to prison for 3 years for $3 million." Most people would do that. You wouldn't do that, but most people aren't in your position.
Right.
The average American would probably say 3 years for $3 million.
You really think
Fuck
so?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, if you're in the comments, let me know. Because I'll bet you people in the comments are like, "Hell yeah, I'll do." That's a ton of money.
But it's not free and clear. You still can't really spend it the way you want.
What do you mean you can't spend it the way you want?
Like you said, you can't title things. You have to pay it back or something.
Well, I mean, so you
just rent indefinitely. I guess I don't know.
If I had $3 million, yeah, you could rent. Or if you have $3 million, I'm gonna figure out how to buy a house. I could buy it. First of all, I got cash. I could buy it in whatever I want to buy it.
That's
I could buy it in a trust.
Oh, you can.
a
Oh,
corporation.
okay. That's fair.
Right.
That's fair.
Like, it doesn't
Okay.
have to
Yeah.
be in my name.
I gotcha.
People, listen. You know how many guys I know that went to prison, owe money, went to prison, and the money is in their mom's name, their sister's name.
I was always gonna.
They got a house. Oh, yeah, I got a house. It's in my baby mom's name.
They're saying Jordan Belfort never paid back his restitution.
I think he owes like $100 million.
But is he? I mean, he's got that. So I guess that's how he's working it, huh?
Keep in mind too, Belfort, what he did was he didn't make any money on the Wolf of Wall Street. He then wrote a second book called The
Way of the Wolf. Well,
it was like Catching the Wolf of Wall Street.
So
then he wrote that. No, you're talking about the sales book.
Yeah.
He also wrote the sales book. So he ended up working out a deal where he's making payments to them, but also a lot of things that he did was he would have so the government at one point because what he did was at one point when the Wolf of Wall Street got big,
mm-hmm.
he was investigated by Inside Edition.
Yeah, like Australia or something. They ran up on him.
Not just that. It was the American version where he's walking through they were following him.
Whatever I saw, I think I saw the same thing as you.
I saw the one you're talking about.
I just remember he's just getting into a Porsche 911 and they're banging on the windows. And
yeah, they catch him in the airport and they kind of ambush him with one of his former victims. And he's living in a $3 million house. Yeah. He's playing tennis every day. He's driving around in a $200,000 sports car or something. And he's flying in private jets. They're like, "Hey, what are you charging now? We heard you're charging $30,000 for every time you do one of these courses." And he goes, "Well, now," he said, "it's 80. It's up to 80,000." Yeah. So he's all being
cocky.
They're like, "Okay, but you still owe $102 million in restitution." And he's like, "Oh, and then he kind of bolts. He tries to take off on him. So, the thing is that a lot of the stuff that he was doing, he would do in his, which I think he recently got married, but in his girlfriend's name. So his girlfriend owns this. So my girlfriend's managing me. Mm-hmm. And so he gets a fee, and they pay her management company, and then he gets a fee. So they come
and then they take a small amount of whatever percent he pays himself from her or whatever.
Which is in a bad position for him to be in, because if anything ever goes wrong, she's the one who's making all the money. She's the one who's got control of the money.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if I was flying private and stuff, I'd really just want to chip away at the restitution. I really do.
No, I would think you would want to pay something, but he's probably realizes he's never gonna pay that off.
I think
so he could work the rest of his life to pay off restitution and then die a pauper.
Yeah.
Or he has to juggle some things so that he can die and have at least a reasonable retirement.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what he's probably thinking is I need to be able to retire in some reasonable fashion.
So Timepiece Gentleman's going to come out and owe $5.6 million
and start again. You think it starts?
The article said the restitution has yet to be determined, so I don't know Like, would it just be 5.6 if that's
well,
what they said they stole?
Yeah, at some point.
It kept growing. I mean, it's been growing since I heard. The first articles were $2 million, then whatever. So,
well, what happens with restitution is once you're in that position and you're just fighting the sentence, right? So you're going, hey, I just need to get as little time in prison as possible. So what happens is people out there might start saying, hey, they're calculating the restitution. You know what? I sent him an $80,000 Rolex, and I never heard from him.
Yeah.
And they'll say, "Whoop!" Then the government will do this: $80,000.
Yeah.
Can you send us an affidavit? Sure, a notarized affidavit saying that's true. Absolutely. And somebody gets it, and they go. All they do is say, "Yeah, this is what I sent him. Never heard from him. He didn't respond to my texts, my emails." And then somebody notarizes it, and guess what? Now you're part of his restitution. You owe him $80,000.
That's messed up, though. For the people who really didn't get paid, I don't know. You know,
it is messed up, but the government isn't really concerned about restitution, and they're not really concerned about the people that you owe, and they're not really concerned about accurately gauging what you owe, because the most prosecutors, no matter how much time they give you, they have such I'm a good person and you're evil, and I want to give you as much time as possible. That's how there are, I'm sure, exceptions. Yeah. Most of them aren't thinking reasonably.
Well, especially on a high profile. Like if it's in the news, like, let's be serious. If you're a prosecutor in California or wherever, you want to get this famous guy who ripped watches off of celebrities and whatever. I mean, you're just trying to get your name in the headlines as much as possible so that you can be attorney general or whatever and indict Trump later.
Right.
You know, or whatever.
Did we have that on the interview we did the other day where I talked about how my prosecutor, listen, she wanted me to get as much time as possible.
Yeah, she hated you.
Yeah. So she literally, I'd had like a home invasion. This is just for an example. I had a home invasion. I had homeowners insurance. So I claimed on my homeowners insurance. Well, you have policy limits, right? So most people don't realize how their insurance works until they get robbed.
Are you talking about the home invasion we were talking about where your watches got taken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So remember, you said you had stopped it and seen that I had all these watches stolen.
Yeah. Matt had a Rolex Submariner. He had a stainless Rolex Explorer, and he had a Cartier watch.
Right.
He didn't know that, but I did.
I remember that, but I knew it was a few Rolexes. So what happened is when you go to claim for your homeowner's policy, when you go to claim against your homeowner's policy for a burglary, what ends up happening is this. Most people are like, my 2 TVs got stolen, my computer got stolen. That they just write it all down. They think they're going to give me
a check for
$20,000 less $500 my deductible. Mm-hmm. What happens is they come back and they'll go, okay, well, you told your 2 computers were a total of $6,000, and your 2 TVs, that was another $2,000, and this is how old I am. Your VCR, whatever, or your.
They took your VCR?
No, but your disc, your whatever. So you add it all up, and you're like, okay, that's $12,000. They go, yeah, for electronics, we only pay up to $5,000, unless you have a writer.
And they pay nothing on your jewelry.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know.
There's jewelry insurance specifically for that.
Okay. Well, usually at least,
or a very low amount.
Very low. It's low.
They're not going to give you your $10,000 that your Rolex was. I'll tell you that.
They wanted to give us $2,500. So when I realized that, I got the policy limits before I contacted them. I said, I want the policy limit, see what my policy limits are. So I realized, okay, we can't tell them we had this much jewelry because they're only going to give us $2,500. We can't tell them this. So we pulled out the policy limits, and I said, okay, guns. Mm-hmm. We can get up to $5,000 for guns. So give me the names of some guns. So we started writing down guns, right? One of it was like an AR-15.
Even knowing that you're going to be a felon in possession of this stuff down the road.
Well, I didn't know that. I hadn't been arrested.
Yeah. Oh.
I hadn't been arrested. This is before I got arrested. So
I thought you were on the run already.
I was on the run, but I was living as.
But you'd been arrested before that? All right, go ahead. Never been arrested?
Joseph Carter, who the insurance company thought I was.
You were. Okay, I got
Joseph Carter, who the insurance company thought I was, had never been arrested. He's not a felon.
Okay.
And this is going through the
I'm sorry.
insurance.
I was talking to the person I'm talking to.
No.
Not Joseph Carter.
Matt Cox on the run. So I'm Joseph Carter.
Okay,
So
sorry.
I'm filling out a police report. So I list, AR-15, 2 handguns. So we come to a little bit above the 25 or the $5,000, whatever it came to. Same thing we did with the jewelry. Same thing. Like we literally were almost maxing out. Sometimes we're a little above. Sometimes we're a little bit less.
Yeah.
But in the end, we're getting up to about 30 grand. So at least I can get back close to what I recouped. Had I given them what really was taken,
You would have got
they'd
nothing.
give me a check for $6 grand.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm trying to get up to the 30. Right? These people also took, by the way, cash. They would give us up to $1,000 in cash. It's like these people took like 30 grand in cash. So anyway, we max everything out. Now here's the thing. I get arrested by the Secret Service before I ever submit this policy or even submit this. But I have the claims form filled out. They get the claims form. They read the claims form. When I go to debrief with the Secret Service, the U.S. attorney says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I got charged with a gun, with it's called constructive possession. So it's a felon in constructive.
Someone else has it or it's in the car or whatever.
Right. What they're saying is Mr. Cox owned a firearm that he had his girlfriend purchase for him. Now, that's not true. I never had a firearm. These firearms are all made up.
Oh.
She did have a firearm that had been stolen, which was hers, which she had in a childproof gun safe. I'd never seen it. I never touched it. Right. Well, I did see it, but I never touched it. And so I argue I want to go to trial because all she has to do is get on the stand and she'll say that I told her, 1, not to buy the gun. 2, I didn't think it should be in the house. As she had a kid, and if she was insisted on it, she should get a gun safe, which she did. I saw it when she came home. I saw the weapon. I saw her put it in the safe. I didn't even have the combination to the safe.
Right.
So I explained the other weapons. So I explained this to the U.S. attorney. The other weapons are complete fabricated. You can ask her. The AR-15 we just made up because I know they were selling at that time for like $1,500. We were trying to hit the maximum. We were maxing out the policy. I explained it to her. She goes, "Okay, that's fine. I understand." She said, "Makes perfect sense. No problem."
Just insurance fraud.
Yeah, no problem. I'm already fucking facing a ton of, I got 20 felonies, so what does it matter? So she goes, "Okay, no problem." Now keep in mind, this is she knows this. They've dropped the charges. She knows it's all bullshit. She knows I didn't have any of these weapons. She knows talked to my girlfriend. She corroborated everything that I said, agrees, no, he never had that weapon, never this, never touched the weapon. My handgun, which is no longer even there, never even touched it. She says all this. U.S. attorney knows that. I go to sentencing. The U.S. attorney gets in front of the judge and says, Mr. Cox was on the run for 3 years committing fraud, and Mr. Cox was in possession of, she says, a fully automatic AR-15, which isn't even an fully automatic weapon, or it's
not
legally
if you're a Marine.
Right. So she says he's in charge. He has a fully automatic AR-15. He had 2 handguns. He had his girlfriend. Says all of this. She knows that's all a fucking lie.
Oh my!
But that's the kind of thing that the U.S. attorney will do. It's like, I'm already looking at 26 years, and you're gonna lie to give me more time, try and get me more time. That's the kind of just, and I wish I could say, oh well, she's the exception. No, she's the normal U.S. attorney.
Yeah.
The exceptions are the ones where they say, like I had a buddy one time who literally his criminal history was off the chart. This kid had been arrested. He was probably 22, 23 years old. I want to say his name was Jeremy Kitchen. I don't know why I remember this. I remember his co-defendant was named Michael Seagraves.
Okay.
Michael Seagraves was cooperating against Jeremy's father.
What?
And Jeremy and they were in the same cell. Now, of course, Seagraves the whole time is saying he's not cooperating.
Right.
But he knew he was.
Oh,
anyway,
that's horrible.
The point is that when Jeremy literally was looking at like 25 years. That's what his PSR said. His pre-sentence report said like 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
When he went in front of the judge, he told the judge, the U.S. attorney wanted Jeremy to testify against his father. He wouldn't do it. He's like, absolutely not. He's my dad. I'll do the 25 years. It's like, wow, little gangster, right? His dad's selling. He's the biggest dealer in the area. They've got him. His dad's getting like a life sentence. He's going to trial. He's going to trial just because he's thinking, maybe I'll win something.
Yeah.
I might as well go. You guys are offering me
45
years.
They offer him?
Yeah, they're offering him 45 years. And he's like, oh, I'll go to trial. Seagraves is going to testify. There's like 10 guys going to testify. He's done. The U.S. attorney's saying we want his son to do it. Now, his son says, fuck you, I'm not doing it. And so the U.S. attorney comes back and he goes, look, I have enough people. I don't really need you. I could be a dick and give you the 25 years. But the truth is, when I look at your PSI, you're a drug addict. Every one of your felonies is drug. You're selling you're a low-level drug dealer who's trying to support his habit. That's why your criminal history is off the chart. He goes, I'm going to do you a favor, Jeremy, because I feel bad for you. And I feel bad about your father, and I know your family's been devastated by meth, and I know this whole thing. He's like, I'm going to do you a favor. He's like, because I'm not a bad guy. He said, when we get in front of the judge, I'm going to tell the judge, I think you should be sentenced to, in the first category 1 instead of category 7, which is off the chart.
Right.
He's like, because the truth is you're just a drug dealer. Or you're just a drug addict. You're not even a drug dealer because we've never caught you with anything.
So does he do it?
He did it. The kid got 10 years.
He actually...
Right. He had to get 10 years because the mandatory minimum was 10 years for what he had in the conspiracy. He's like, but Jeremy, he's like, he told me he was going to do this. And I remember thinking, my lawyer was like, he's going to do it, but the truth is the judge could still give you 25 fucking years.
Did the judge give him the 10 years too?
Gave him the 10 years. Yeah. When he came back, he was like, I can't fucking believe I'm getting 10 years. The other thing about Jeremy was this is what killed me. He was the guy, I remember, and I'll stop talking. He was the guy that told me, he was the first person that I remember hearing. He kept saying, man, I just want to go to fucking prison. I just want to go to prison. I just want to go to prison.
Because he'd get away from,
He'd been to prison. No, because we were in Union City County Jail. It was hell. And we were miserable. Like literally the windows that they had these thin windows that they had painted over from the outside. I mean, it was pitch black. There was barely any of the lights worked. It was like a dungeon in there. And I kept saying, bro, why do you keep saying you want to go to prison? And I was like, isn't prison going to be worse than this? And he goes, are you serious? He goes, bro, the first day you're in prison, he goes, I'll be walking the track. I'm going to have a pint of ice cream. I'm going to be able to take a hot fucking shower. He said, I'm going to have soup. I'm going to eat. He said, prison is amazing compared to this. He goes, you're going to love prison.
Oh, so you were in county.
I was in county jail.
Oh. See, that's all I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. So I remember thinking, that's insane. But then, of course, you go to prison and you're like, oh, I want to be sentenced as quick as possible. I want to go to prison.
Mm.
Like but he was the first person I remember kept saying that. He kept saying it. So anyway, but I'm saying the prosecutors are horrific. They can be.
My wife has a friend who's a public defender, and or she was a public defender. Now she has her own firm, but she said the amount of people who just didn't have the right legal representation, that were completely innocent, but just ended up arrested, and then the cops found the evidence to make it stick, and they couldn't properly articulate themselves. I mean, there's so many people sitting behind bars, and I don't know. The system's messed up.
I don't think it's so much that there's innocent people as much as it's that maybe you're guilty of something, but you pled guilty, and you got the amount of time they're giving away to people is outrageous. Like the idea that I think per the sentencing guidelines, $5.6 million and getting 6 years for a guy that's who was as egregious as this guy, I think per the sentencing guidelines, that's fair. That's where he found that. That's definitely fair. What he got per the guidelines. If you said, Matt, look, what do you think is fair as far as society and what would be most beneficial for society? I think this guy gets 2 years and you put him on an ankle monitor.
I disagree.
You see what I'm saying?
I disagree. And I'm not I think that you were way over sentenced, but to maybe take people's money to flaunt, but you didn't see the videos. You didn't see the videos. he just flaunted it in everybody's faces, and he got this huge ego. And I mean, that's what really, really upset
people
in general. And it hurt the whole watch community, because this guy is the most prominent. He's the face of the industry.
Right.
So now you got these other guys who are shooting more boring shows. Hey, I've got here this reference 2213, and they're not cool like him. They're not jacked. They don't have tattoos. Well, now people are calling in them like it's a stock panic, and they're like, I need my watch back, thinking like everybody's out there doing it.
Right.
So, I mean,
but for money, to go to jail for 5 or 6 years over money, like, I think if he got 2 or 3 years and then you put him on 5 years paper and watch him.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying? You watch him. Because to me, it's like you could, like, and then there's some guy who will do a home invasion or somebody will, somebody ends up dying and they get, 15 years. And it's like, are you serious? Like, you giving this guy 6 and you giving this guy 10? And it's like, I don't know.
Just and as an addict myself, I have a soft spot for it. So, but the lack of remorse in the
guy's a jackass.
It was started out as an apology. That's the name of it, and it's so it's your fault for wanting your money back. It's you guys. It's this. It's that. I mean, and then to continually go on these, it's like a 4 split screen with a bunch of other watch dealers, and they're like, hey, you owe me money, and I'll get it for you. I don't owe it. I haven't not paid you yet. And he's like, but you haven't paid me yet. But I haven't not paid you yet. And it's like, dude,
but I'm gonna pay you. Yeah, he's a jackass.
I mean,
but I mean, if you're a jackass, and yeah, he stole money, but I don't know I don't know that 5 or 6 years does him any good. I don't think it does these other people. Maybe the point is get him out of prison, let him start making restitution.
He's already done 1 or 2 years.
Huh?
He's already done 2 years before.
Oh, for the DUIs.
For whatever it was before. Right. I think he ran from the cops and got a DUI. I mean, it obviously didn't change his mindset.
Yeah, but how long can you keep locking people up for? You can't just keep every time you lock them up. Go this time 10 years, this time 20 years. This time I just don't know what the answer is.
How long do you think he needs to be locked up for him to have maybe like
a dose of humility?
Yeah.
Like exactly. Maybe I think 3 years and you put him on strict probation.
That's what I'd agree with that.
Because let's face it, then it's like if you give him like an ankle monitor and say, look, you're going to work. Mm-hmm. You get to go to work, the gym, grocery store, and to church. That's where you're going. Mm-hmm. And you're spending all your time there. Like, you're walking around with that ankle monitor. That's a dose of humility. And guess what? You're not, and we're approving where you live. Mm-hmm. We get to see all of your checks. You get a regular job. For a guy like that, that's hell.
Yeah.
I'm working a W-2 job making $65,000 a year, or maybe worse. I can't even get that job. I'm making $45,000. I'm living in someone's
He'd be a personal trainer.
You're a personal trainer. So, okay, even then, if he did that, that's fine. You can go to the gym and back. But even still, you're walking around with this ankle monitor. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating.
I bet.
As opposed to you going for 6 years, get out. You're maybe on paper for a year or two. They're not really watching you that much.
One of the things that I wonder is when his watches that he stole and sold to other people are going to start popping up. Because, like, for example, you know how we were just talking about jewelry insurance? I have this watch. This is a Rolex Submariner.
You have that band on a Submariner?
It's beautiful. You want to put it?
No, I would like a nice band. You have a nice band. That's a nice band.
Well, that's why I'm wearing this one right now. When I want to wear this one, I wear this one. The serial number is aligned. Like, here's a good story. I had a friend whose dad is a very successful mortgage broker, and he's gifted his son a couple of Rolexes. And Rolexes are like German cars. They don't work really well,
right?
And they break, and they need serviced.
They don't keep great time.
They don't keep great time. It takes a special type of person.
But they're a pleasure to drive.
Exactly. It's beautiful. And so Rolex now does not tell you what they're going to charge you when they service it. First thing you have to do is get it back to factory. So if you got the diamonds and the bust down and whatever, they won't take that. They just won't take it back. They'll say, get it back to stock. So I'd have to put my stainless steel bracelet back on here and whatever. And then I'd send it back to them. And then they will decide what it needs and invoice me when it gets back in 6 to 8 weeks. So my friend was going to take his Rolex to the local authorized dealer, Rolex store, and have it sent off to be serviced because it wasn't keeping time. And he got a panicked call as he was walking in from his dad and said, don't take it there. Don't take it there. Take it to a private jeweler.
Oh, his dad knew it was stolen?
I think that there might have been an insurance claim where he might have lost it for a little bit and whatever. So I hooked him up with my guy who would.
Oh my God.
So at some point, I mean, these watches are going to start popping up.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what happens then? Because if you send a roll, like, you know, these high-end people, they're not using, you know, Quick Fast in the mall to service their Rolex.
Right.
So if you send it back to Rolex, they're going to call the store. And when you come to pick it up, there's going to be a police officer there waiting for you, saying, hey, we've had a conflict. This watch has been reported stolen.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's the reaction. I'm just giving you the reaction. That's what you do.
Oh,
in that situation,
exactly.
you do the...
I mean, but some of those people won't be... I mean, I bought this from Timepiece, gentlemen. Here's where I sent the money, and I don't know what's going to happen then.
They'll take the watch.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
You're losing your watch. Yeah, having it be in possession of stolen property, you can't say, well, no, I legally paid for it. No, it's a stolen piece. We're giving it back to that's between you and who you bought it from.
Yeah.
Well, that guy's in jail already. Well, good. Then you should be happy.
Now you just should be surprised.
Yeah, now you sit in an affidavit. You'll be a part of his restitution.
So I don't know if his watches have started popping up yet or not, but yeah.
Do you think he'll get out and try and do this again the right way, or you think he knows he's blown his credibility?
I mean, we can talk about whatever you want, but yeah, I think he's shot. I don't think anybody would ever. He can't get a real estate license now, which is how he made his money the first time.
Right.
Can't get. Nobody will let him sell anything now on contingency.
Right.
And yeah, I think he's done. He's done. I think he's a washed up YouTube celeb.
Well, I think speaking from the perspective of a washed up YouTube celeb, I think
we're never. You don't have the makings to be washed up.
I think what he could do is, well, one. So what he's going to, on 70 months, he gets 15% off for good time. Assuming he doesn't get in trouble, he probably won't. He'll probably go to a low. Mm-hmm. Maybe he'll go to a low. Very quickly, they're going to move him to a camp. So he's going to end up in a camp. A lot of people get in troubles in camp.
Because he's not violent?
Non-violent. He's not a security risk. Like if he did escape, he's not going to escape and go shoot up a mall. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He's just going to run and try to hide at his friend's house.
Right.
I guess. I don't know.
So,
go get his hand jobs under a bridge.
They're going to find him under a bridge somewhere. I'm selling this watch, by the way.
I got him blinded.
So, he most likely gets 15% off so that's roughly a year off on 70 months. So now he's down to 60 months, which is 5 years. Then he's going to get roughly 20% off of that which is roughly another year, because he can program. They call it programming, and he'll either work a job or take classes. He gets another 20, because you can get like 35, 40% off your sentence at this point. So let's say he ends up doing gets 60%. 60% of 70 is 42 months. So 42 months, let's say he gets 6 months halfway house, which is reasonable.
Yeah.
He's going to end up, now we're down to
3 years.
3 years. So he's going to do 3 years. So in 3 years, he's in a halfway house for 6 months. He's a good looking guy. He's going to hook up with some chick. He's going to get her to let him come and sleep at her place. If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above, that's where GhostBed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, GhostBed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding.
From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners can get 50% off site-wide for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use the code COX at checkout. Again, that's ghostbed.com/Cox with the code COX at the checkout to save a whopping 50% off site-wide.
Well, he bangs her.
Yeah,
and
I think
gonna
he's,
be placed on the
I think
ankle
he's
monitor.
38 now. So,
Yeah, he'll still be a decent looking guy.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's funny too, because right now he's thinking his life's over and I'd do anything to be, 36. So, or 40 or 45. Anyway, what?
Your best years were 45.
In prison. So he's going to end up, he'll end up on probation, and like you said, he'll probably be a personal trainer. He'll probably go in there in 3 years. He'll get his personal trainer's license and all his little certifications and stuff. Get out, and the problem is making money the first time is the hardest.
Yeah.
Making it the second time is much easier.
Yeah.
So he's going to try and do something like this again. Hopefully he can do it the right way. If they watch him long enough, then maybe he's humbled enough and he's okay. And in 3 years when he gets out, he's reevaluated his life and realized that stealing money.
You think he'll go back to YouTube?
That's what I was gonna say. I think he'll definitely start a YouTube channel again. Although I don't think his YouTube channel was ever probably making him all that much money. He probably wasn't focusing on it to make money.
Yeah.
So
it was all about just look at me.
Look at me. I wonder what kind of views those videos
I don't know.
were getting. Was it monetized?
I don't know. I didn't pay attention to that kind of stuff back then. But,
right. Why are you here, Greg? Anyway, so let's say how many views, how many subscribers did he have?
I don't know.
And how many does he have now? He's still got this channel.
I mean, he was putting out a fully edited 1 hour video every single week. And it was
how long?
An hour.
Oh, an hour.
A 1 hour video every week, well edited. He had an entire camera crew follow him around all the time.
That's where some of the money was going, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, and it wasn't like it was like, oh, this is June. I remember when like Texas froze or something, that they like that week they had their video and they're like, yeah, we're frozen, blah blah blah, like so.
So I mean, most of his videos, I mean, it ranges from anywhere from like 25,000 to 350,000, but that's after like his big views are like his apology, like I'm $5 million in debt.
But how long has that one been out?
That's been out for a year.
So
but the thing is,
that's not even the original.
Yeah,
right.
It's hard to say what the originals were.
I think he would be doing 500,000 views. I really do. I mean, it was a popular.
How many subscribers?
83,000.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody dropped him. He went away. He's in jail. You're gonna stay subscribed?
Let's say he's got 100,000. Let's say he's putting out one video a week for an hour, and he's getting 100,000 views, and he's getting 25% watch time. That video is maybe making $500. So if he's doing that, and he's doing 4 of those a month, at best he's making 2,000 plus another maybe 1,000 to 15, maybe 3,500 tops, and that's him doing all the editing himself. Because then if you have to pay somebody, you're done. It's over.
But you're looking at it the wrong way. I mean, for you, that's how that would work. For him, if he gets one watch call, people would come.
Right, but he can't sell watches while he's on probation. He can't do that again.
No. He can't do it again. I'm talking about retroactively.
No,
I'm saying his podcast or show, TV show, whatever you want to call it, was strictly for him. People would fly out in private jets just to show off, to be seen on that and say, I got this you know,
I get it. It's kind of he's kind of doing a.
it was promotional and entertainment at the same time.
Right. He's doing a whole what is it? Traveling road show. What's the name of that? The road show where they antique road show thing where they come, they show, and they're like, oh, what do you think? I think it's worth $60,000. Well,
yeah.
Turns out this is a fake, and it's worth about $200.
Yeah.
So, so I understand that. What I'm saying from here on out, if he were to get out and start over again, because he does have some cachet, right? He can go on other podcasts to tell his story. So let's say he started something in a genre like true crime, or maybe even if it was for him, it'd probably be like fitness or something, because he wants it to be all about him. He doesn't want to brand himself as a master criminal, because then he couldn't possibly see himself like that. Most narcissists wouldn't dare paint themselves into that portrait.
You're a special kind.
I'm special. So, if he were to get out and start, so he'd have to start something over again. He could go on a bunch of shows, talk about what he's doing. He could probably make $4,000 or $5,000 a month doing YouTube videos of some type. It might take a little bit, but that's probably it. That's probably where he's.
But then he could also be training people on the side, or maybe selling a course.
It's not a bad life. I'm not saying it's a bad life. I'm saying it's not like he could do. Yeah, he could do courses.
But it'll never be private jets and,
no, it's not gonna,
and Lamborghinis.
It's not going to pay what stealing. It's not going to pay what running a Ponzi scheme pays. Like that pays good money up until the end.
Until it doesn't.
Right. So, but yeah, hopefully he goes to prison. He realizes that and he gets out and says, hey, I'm going to do something legit. Who knows? You know, I should write him a letter. I can find him. We can look him up on the BOP. We'll know where he is in
I talked to, you want to hear what his partner had to say about him? Yeah, the last time I talked to Marco, let's see, I was in 2023. And he said he needs to be locked up. This is way more than an addiction problem. It comes from a family of addicts on my dad. Oh, I come from a family of addicts on my dad's side, but stealing and ruining lives to satisfy addiction is a whole other deal. I know, funny you say that. I watched the video and I feel like he's a straight narcissist. Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you got out before you got roped up in the bullshit. And he said, same, man, what a blessing in itself to have gotten as far away from this before the disaster hit. And that was my last conversation with his partner. So,
get him on here. Why do you keep looking like that?
What do you mean?
I'm not saying anything against you.
Oh,
jeez.
All right.
Why would anybody spend $30,000 or $40,000 on a watch?
The thing about expensive watches is, in the industry they call it complications. It's like a really fancy way. Anything can tell the time, but your iPhone tells the time. But remember that game Mousetrap? Like your watch on right now, does it just tick every time? Like every second, it just ticks. Well, you know how you've had a Rolex before. You know how the hand just kind of
sweeps.
It does that like sweeping hand where you never. And that's because there's two types of watches. There's what's called a quartz watch, which is a pretty basic watch, like this Breitling here. And you'll see the tick every second on that. 2, 3, and so forth. And then mechanical watches, I got this Cartier with the back open. So what makes a mechanical watch special is that the weight of there's a weight on the back, and your wrist moving it around is what makes that watch move.
You can see it.
All right, there you go. So yeah,
Oyster Perpetual, right?
That's right. Exactly right. So everything that's Rolex's word for it. Everybody has a word for it. Oyster means that it can go at least 100 meters underwater. Perpetual means that it has their perpetual movement, and that's why you'll see those big fancy watch winders. Like when you get the really rich guys that open the safes and they're all spinning. It's not just for display purposes. It's to keep the watch. Make sure it's keeping time so they're not just all dead on their nightstand like mine may or may not be.
Right.
You're just spending money to, again, it's like that game mousetrap where the thing has to fall in. They just keep adding more and more complications. So now you're starting to see some that are like a skeleton where you can see the front all the way to the back and all the gears moving. And that's it. It's just it's a complicated way to do a simple thing.
Right.
You know, so
and so what you're paying for it for it's just prestige, right? It's like buying a Mercedes, like a Ford. You buy a Mercedes and a Ford Taurus is basically the same car, right? So
yeah, they're both going to do the same thing, but you know,
you'd rather have the Mercedes.
I do, yeah.
I'd rather pull up in the Mercedes than the Ford Taurus.
Yeah, well,
you know, so
I like my Mercedes and I like my watches.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's like dating a fat chick or a high priced model. Like, you know, they both do the same thing. You know? I miss my Rolex. No.
I can fake gift you one if it'll make for good.
Fake gift me?
I can be like, Matt, I'm so grateful for you having me on here that you can wear this for the duration of the podcast.
Yeah, it's funny too when I listened to the first like big lick that I made, where I made like 80 grand or something. I closed something and boom, I got a check for 80. I was like, oh my God. I went and I bought a Rolex. It wasn't much. It was like 55. It was
Back then?
Like $5,500. You walked to the store, you paid $5,500. I got an oyster. I got a, you know what I got was,
I think the Explorer.
No, I think I got like a very basic oyster perpetual white, the black face.
Yeah. That was the Explorer one.
Yeah.
I'll show you what you got.
And then
I
later,
watched your thing. Like you told me, go last time I was here, go watch Leaving Las Vegas.
The movie Leaving Las Vegas?
Remember last time I was here, you're like, yeah.
Oh, it's horrific, right? Like, I mean, it's a great movie.
Yeah, but you're like, because I was selling watches, I was doing all this stuff, and you're like, oh, did you see that? And I was like, no. And so I went and watched it, and the first thing I saw, I was like, oh, yeah, look at that. That's a Rolex Daytona, Paul Newman, blah, blah, blah. That's a nice piece he's got. That's what you got.
Yeah.
I saw it on your list.
And how much are those now? 10 grand. Fuck, I bought that thing for like $5 grand.
That's how
right out of the store.
They always go up. They always go up. My dad paid $2,000 for a Rolex. It's $8 grand right now. I mean,
did you ever see that Antique Roadshow with the
old man who like falls over when he figures out it's like
worth like $500,000.
Did you see that, Colby?
Oh my God, it's worth. He bought it for.
It was $700,000 by the time he was done.
Yeah. Oh, was it 700? Yeah. He bought it for like I bought it for $500 back in 1972. And it was some specialty.
And this guy, he's like, it was too scary to wear it because that was a month's salary to a sailor or something.
And he had all the paperwork still. He had everything.
It's like the most heartwarming video.
And when they tell him, like, he has no clue.
He goes, it's been just look up the Antique Roadshow Rolex guy. It's so good. Now I've had a couple of people from my social media who know that I will be here.
Okay, so now we're gonna do the
and they wanted me.
You posted on your social media.
That's right. You're not the only one who's famous. That I'm going on the Matt Cox post, and the most common question was, "Who's that?" But a few people. Now hold on.
Do you want anybody to go to your social media where you're posting this crap about asking questions about me?
They already are.
Your fans are already Matt. This is where you're getting your subscribers. Matt, are coming from my social media.
I think you got something confused.
That's what you should say. Or you should say, you guys subscribe to Matt's.
I'll tell him that. But put up my other video, the link to the other video, and get some more hits on that too.
Oh yeah. We'll do that when it's the recommended.
So then I'll say, and make sure you subscribe to Matt. And
you say with that much energy,
dude, I'm a fucking salesman.
Let me wrap it up, and then you can wrap it up.
You just talk about your sleepy pillow, and I'll close this deal for you.
I'll wrap it up my version, and then you wrap up and say, hey, check out my interview.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So hold on. Right. So. Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get notified of videos like this. Please consider joining our Patreon. And Greg has something to say.
And remember, I am a repeat visitor on here. I did an awesome interview before. So subscribe to my social media, Greg.snavely on Instagram, on all platforms, and watch all of Matt's videos because they're always fantastic, but especially mine. All right. See you guys later.
And your video is right there.
Yeah,
your
yeah.
video is
Say,
showing
and
on the screen right now.
yeah, and click on my video.
Which way? Where's my video?
We don't know.
Anywhere.
Wherever you point, we're gonna put it.
Let's do this.
Oh, and my video is right here. That's where you are going to want to hit that button.
All right.